Please allow me to tell you how Real Abilities, a TV show, musical, and comic book series came about. It was May 2002, and I had just officially crossed the threshold to graduate 1 year early from Cornell University. What started as a dark, gloomy day transformed almost miraculously into a gorgeous day with the sun peeking its beautiful rays through the previously dreary clouds. What would have been a bittersweet occasion appeared at that moment as only purely sweet, since rather than leaving the college I loved so much, I would pursue a rigorous fMRI dyslexia research project with a prestigious neuroscience researcher at Cornell University. This would afford me the best of all worlds, a wonderful research opportunity, and one last year with all of my peers in my original graduating class. Just a few weeks later, all of my plans came to a screeching halt. I received an emotional call from my mother that my dear sister Michal was going through a horrible ordeal. Her beautiful, beloved son had just received an autism diagnosis. Autism? What could she possibly mean? Ellie? But he always seemed so smiley and playful. Michal's son? Michal was one of the most socially adept, hilarious, and exceptional people I had ever met. Whatever could she mean? I immediately phoned two close friends of mine from Cornell who both had been studying autism throughout college. Between the information from my friends and the clear, pervasive impact the diagnosis was already having on my sister and her family, I knew that my plans were about to change significantly. 2 weeks later, I was on a bus to New York City. My bags were packed and my mind was made up. Rather than researching dyslexia, a disorder of which I had little to no connection, I was going to spend what would have been my final year at Cornell with my sister, her family, and most importantly, with my sweet, loving nephew, Ellie. I hoped to be a source of support and to learn how to be more effective with my sister and her family during this very trying time. In addition to time spent with Ellie, I knew I had to pursue some other endeavors, since I hoped graduate school would be in the cards for the following year. I was delighted to receive a research assistantship at Columbia University in social emotional learning and instructional technologies, and soon after a part-time internship at Nickelodeon as well. These three experiences, time spent with Ellie, time learning about social emotional learning at Columbia, and time with children's programming at Nickelodeon, were incredibly illuminating and were key determinants in my future graduate path. It was after that formative year that I decided I want to pursue a PhD in applied developmental psychology at Fordham University with a special focus on using children's media to teach social emotional skills to children with autism and/or other disabilities. In August 2003, I began my PhD in the Applied Developmental Program at Fordham University. I immediately began working with a professor in the area of social emotional learning, and just 1 year later, I pursued a practicum at Sesame Street Workshop to ensure I was becoming as versed as possible in children's media. During that year, I had the good fortune of conducting a large research study with parents of children with and without disabilities. While I learned a tremendous amount from the findings, the most remarkable finding I learned was that parents of children with disabilities were much more interested in programming that would teach typical kids how to be more sensitive, socially interactive, and interested in their kids with disabilities than in programming that would teach direct social emotional skills. Wow, that was shocking to me and so illuminating. Clearly, I needed to make a shift in my research and, more importantly, in my life's work. In fall 2008, just months before completing my PhD, I was asked to teach a graduate child development course at Fordham University. Invigorated by a class of bright and eager students, I decided to make their final project a creative one. Excited by this final assignment, I decided to complete the assignment myself as well. The result? Real Abilities. Real Abilities introduced 5 children with disabilities: Rolly with a physical impairment, Melody with a visual impairment, Uno with autism, Seymour with a hearing impairment, Addie with ADHD, and they're typically developing peer Ezra as they harness their special strengths associated with their disabilities to save their school from bullies. The show teaches the realities of disability while also promoting a strong strengths-based perspective and a strong stop bullying platform. A couple of years after the initial images, I was motivated to pursue full animation using internal school grants and external grants. While the money was low, the interest was high. We made our first episode on a shoestring budget in 2013. The show quickly evolved to include new, more developed animation. Not only would the show include knowledge about disabilities and bullying, but it would include the compelling and hilarious adventures of two of our main characters, Addie with ADHD and Una with autism. Addie with her spontaneity and seat-of-the-pants attitude, and Eno with his concrete but savant-like math and spatial orientation skills. After testing out the show in a variety of schools, teachers begged us to make a book or graphic novel version of the series. Soon we rolled out the Real Abilities comic book series. The Real Abilities comic book series is now composed of 10 unique Real Abilities comic books and 2 instructional manuals for a full 2-week educational curriculum for 3rd through 5th grade typical students in the classroom. To date, the TV show episode and comic book series has now been tested on over 750 children from over a dozen schools across the United States. Since the TV show was catered to 4 to 7-year-olds and the comic book series for 7 to 11-year-olds, we decided to add on a further piece, the Real Abilities Puppet Show musical. We hoped the musical would appeal to preschool-age children. To our surprise, the musical was such a hit, and it appeared to hit children and adults of all age brackets. This December, we'll be rolling out our newest iteration of our Real Abilities Puppet Show musical. Finally, so as not to leave out any age bracket from appreciating the wondrous abilities within disability, we are currently in the process of creating virtual reality simulation technology to teach 6th graders and up, including teachers, how to achieve the highest levels of empathy for individuals with disabilities by actually simulating in 360 degrees what having a disability might look like. We hope to roll out this technology in the fall of 2017. Thank you so much for sharing this formative journey with me and with the Real Abilities team. We look forward to staying in touch. Please join me and Gandhi in being the change you want to see in the world. This is what impassions me. What impassions you? What pivotal change will you make in this world? Thank you.